for today's episode. I'm truly grateful. Today we are on episode 9 of the Why I Chose My Wife series. We're almost done, and it's not even about just being done, it's about how long or how far we have come and how much we have learned so far. Thank you for staying through with us, for watching this on YouTube, for sharing with your friends, for learning and for implementing everything that you are learning. As you usually know, we have a guest for today, so we are diving right into the conversation with the guests. Okay, one moment. Let's get the guests to join in. All right, Joseph is here, so we'll just add him and start the conversation. Go live. Okay, I'm trying to add. Yes, we're trying. Sometimes these things happen with Instagram, so it's not a problem. I'm trying to add. I've seen your request. I'm also sending mine, but okay. Thank you so much, Joseph, for being a part of this conversation. Sometimes that the whole addition, adding somebody to the live can be a bit back and forth sometimes with Instagram, so it's not a problem at all. But can you hear me? I cannot hear you yet.
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, okay. The volume is very okay.
Okay, I can check the volume. I can hear you well.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Your volume is better now.
Yes. Now. Okay. Cool.
Yes, it's much better. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So I'll just read the abridged version of your profile and we'll just get right into the important conversation. Okay? Thank you. Joseph hails from the western part of Nigeria, Ogun State precisely. He has he had his birth and childhood experience in Agege, Lagos, at an university education at Lagos State University, where he studied English language and literature in English. Joseph served in Nigeria as a classroom educator for over a decade with the privilege to have tutored from nursery through to tertiary institution. Joseph is a passionate student of psychology, personal development, neuro-linguistic programming, emotional intelligence, and more. He's a believer and a teacher of the Word of God. He's married to his wife, Ibukunolu, and they're blessed with children, Bethel and Paris. Amazing names. Thank you so much again for being a part of this conversation. So let's start out with, how long have you been married for?
Okay. Thank you. I think first, before I answer that question, I should really appreciate you for what you're doing. Sorry, I'm not going to take that time. Okay, thank you for this great work. Actually, I know it's been a blessing to many people, particularly in this time where finding somebody to marry sometimes is not as easy as we think. Well, we're still going to get into this part of the conversation, but I know what I'm saying. I've gotten to deal with some questions, even personally, before I got to this stage. I think I had some ups and downs in trying to choose and all that. So having somebody who is committed to helping or ensuring one marries right, I think that's phenomenal. So thank you for what you're doing. At least for many people, you've been making that bridge very easy to cross. So thank you. God bless you for what you're doing. All right. So interestingly, I just had my marriage anniversary or wedding anniversary just a week ago.
Wow.
Okay, so that's
can you imagine? And now you're talking about this.
I'm talking about it. I'm really excited to talk about it anyway. Yeah. So 3 years so far, and it's been good all the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad that you did not marry, although we've had people in this conversation that have been married for over a decade and all that. So there was a part of the conversation because it's a 10-part series. And I'm glad that we had that. But a lot of them, I've started to bring in people who have been married a bit more recently, 5 years and below.
Okay.
Because at least you can tell us it's very recent. You can I'm talking 5 years and below. You can tell us why you made a decision to get married in today's world where people, it looks as if they are not valuing marriage. So they can do every other thing apart from marriage. People are doing a lot of things with benefits. So that is why we're going to be, that is one important point of this conversation. And to those listening, because I know Joseph already knows what I'm doing, but to those listening who do not know the essence of this conversation, the very important objective of this conversation is to help men and women uncover their fears and also level of ignorance that they are dealing with so that they can know better how to choose a partner, how to get and step into marriage if you want to get and step into marriage. Because a lot of the things that are holding people back, and I know this, of course, because I'm deeply involved in this work, is it has to do with fear and ignorance. So we are bridging the gap of the fear and ignorance by having conversations with amazing men like you. We did an episode with women all through, and now this episode we are finishing is with men. So let's go to the theme question, which is, why did you choose your wife? So 3 years ago, at least I know in the past 7 years, people have started deciding, some out of fear, some intentionally, to not get married. So they are doing every other thing. They're getting all the benefits of marriage, but they're not getting married. But for you, 3 years ago, you decided to say, no, I want to get married. I can just be around, hanging around, but I want to get married. So what made you choose your wife?
Okay, thank you so much for that. Just like you said, for reasons known or unknown, many young people do not want to get married. Many young people, male, female, here. And for me, I think I've looked into some of those reasons. Of course, financial reasons. What else?
Sorry, please, I want to make a suggestion, Joseph. Yeah, can you possibly do the live without the earpiece? I think it is affecting your sound. If it is possible.
Wow.
Yes, because sometimes when I do, I've even stopped long ago. When I do with earpiece, it affects the sound sometimes.
Let me see if I
can hear you. You can disconnect it. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Sound is much better. It's much better now. The sound is much
better. Wow. Okay.
Much better.
Good.
Yes. Thank you.
All right then. I just want to make sure I can hear you perfectly too.
Yes, can you hear me?
Earpiece also. I can. Let me. I just want to increase the volume.
I'll make sure that I'm very audible. I'll make sure.
I can hear you. It's good.
Okay.
All right. So why did I mean, is it why or why did I choose to get married?
Yes.
Or why did I marry?
And so let's have.
Okay. Why did I choose
to get married? Then we'll talk about your wife.
Okay. Well, let me just go directly. It's very safe to say that I got married because every other persons were doing that. That's very safe, right? And it's like When you're born, you get into school, and there's this societal pattern life follows, right? Because the truth is, I just discovered nobody actually has the knowledge or wisdom of what exactly is to be done, right? What happens most times is that we take references from people, we make references to places, people, and that inspires our action. So the truth is that I'm sorry, I'm just trying to say this so I could establish what I want to say properly. This show, for example, is a reference to something that has existed before now, right? Perhaps in case you saw somebody doing something like this, and that gave you an inspiration, and you started this, right? So life
Mm-hmm.
tends to follow this
Yes.
pattern. So
Yes.
it's safe for
Mm.
me to say, well, I had parents, and of course, those were inspiration to me. Then, so I could easily say, yeah, I also need somebody to get married to so I could produce my children and live life as parents and all that. But for me, decisions in life, for me, really, has always been taking a step backward from what is the norm before delving. Of course, I'm a believer, and one reference point is the scripture, right? A man leaves his parent and all that and all that. Now, in fulfillment of that scripture, that's one. And naturally, there are things that suggest to you that perhaps you need somebody. All right, I'm not
Mm.
even talking about sexual urges or whatever. Now, what I'm talking about is that it's just natural, it's innate. All right, it's innate. It's innate. So that's one. Also, are you there? Can't see
Yes,
you
yeah,
anymore.
very much.
Okay.
Yes, very
Okay,
much.
cool. The video is moving on. All right. So for me, so studying and taking a step backward, I discovered, okay, my parents gave birth to me. They did all they could to a certain point. Then I understood, okay, it's time for me also to do mine. And I am a kind of person that has been passionate, when it comes to the kind of, when it comes to family life. All right, family life for me is not something that just came. It's been way back. How? Particularly because of what I've observed. I've seen societies, I've seen shortcomings everywhere. I see the kind of parents, and children being raised. And okay, I'm like, and the funny thing is that, um, parenting is a huge one. It's actually because, for me, it detects or it tells us, it affects politics, it affects whatever, different aspect of the society. All right. So for me, it's a big deal that I take a step backward in evaluating why I wanted to get married. So I got married basically because I wanted to create a new narrative of what has been. Okay, I've seen the society and I felt, wow, if marriage could cause these societal abnormalities, then I think good marriages can also fix them.
Mm.
All right. The president of the country, for example, came from a home, right? The armed robber who robbed somebody yesterday came from a home. So I believe, wow, if the society or our world can be influenced by families,
Mm.
then I take the challenge of starting a family life, and I take the challenge of starting my family. So
Okay.
that's my deep inspiration for getting married beyond every other, psychology or
Mm.
physiological factor, so to say. Yes.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. That means to a degree before you got married, you were aware, you were self-aware to a particular degree. Of course, self-awareness is
Mhm.
something that's a continuous
Of course.
process because this, even though it's something that was modeled to you, is something that you now intentionally looked around and, like you said, oh, if families have impact on this kind of building, it just can build this kind of culture and narrative in the society,
Exactly.
then it is will be good for me to also contribute in that regard. Thank you for that. So why did you choose your wife particularly? Because in this 21st century we have all manner of expectations and all manner of lists of what a parent should have and what a parent should not have, how they should have it, how they shouldn't have it. what do you see as a man? Because the man does the finding and the man does the choosing ultimately.
Right.
What do you see as the man to say, this is the person, your wife's name, like you shared in your bio, Ibukun Oluwa, this is the person I want to go forward with. Despite, of course, there will
Yeah.
always be options here and there, despite other options.
Okay, that's basic, and I'm gonna start from there because there were options. Truthfully, there
Yes.
were options, and interestingly for me, um, it was a time where because okay, I attended the Lagos State University. I mean, yeah, Lagos State University,
Mm.
and belongs to a fellowship, all right, a Christian fellowship, RCF, as at then, and in the Christian community back then, there's always a catchphrase. So when you meet somebody, people just walk up to you and ask you, "Have you seen the will of God for your life?" Sorry, this might not really appeal to non,
Not yet.
audience that are not very familiar with this terrain. So people at the point it became bullying. Yeah, became bullying. Somebody comes to you and say, "Have you seen the will of God for your life?" And you're like, "Oh my." And you can hear how somebody's sharing a testimony of how they met, this and that. And
Mm-hmm.
interestingly for me, I was the brothers coordinator, right? So one thing I had to do with in my office also has to do with relationships. Okay, so by provision, we had that what's it called? That private right to know what's going on in relationships. Okay, somebody wants to propose to somebody and all that. So somehow I have the opportunity to maybe get involved. Might not be fully, but I have one or two things to do. So seeing all this somehow for me gave me, kept me on my toes. And people come to me and ask, "Have you seen the will of God?" So at a point, I think I went into relationships. Yes, I think I remember 2 relationships. I felt, wow. So I could really answer people. I found the will of God for my life. And one thing about that kind of thing is, even if you are not very sure, you tend to look for things around just to, because anything you say at that point, you have to back them up with scriptures, right? And there was a scripture and all those things. So at the point, that was the story for me. But it took me a while to really sit down and evaluate what I wanted in a woman. Okay, so I don't want to lose the touch with the question again. You said, why did I marry my wife?
Yes, why you choose your wife?
Okay, why I chose my wife? Okay, amongst other. So at the point I had to evaluate what I wanted in a woman. I looked at my vision. I looked at my, what. Of course, I didn't have it all figured out. I didn't even know I'll be doing some things I do now as at then. So I can't really say it was based on my vision because my vision is still progressive, right? But for me, it was I've seen examples. So I felt, okay, if I've been marrying, I wasn't going for, I knew what I was, I don't want to mention some things now because some people might be watching, right? I knew what I didn't want.
Mm.
Yes, I knew what I didn't want. So I took note of that. And what I wanted was very clear. All right. I didn't want somebody who will not contribute to my vision. I didn't want somebody who is not intelligent, right? I
Mm.
didn't want somebody who, I don't want to say liability, but well, for me, I used to believe something anyway. I tell
No, you
myself,
can break
even
down what
if
you
I
mean.
get
Don't worry, you
married
can
to,
break down what you mean.
he said,
You can break down what you mean for us.
okay,
Just so that
okay,
people will be
you know,
able to connect. Yes.
all right, I used to tell myself something back then. I used to say, even if I get married to a woman that is not how do I put it now? A woman that is not how do
Mm.
I'm looking for the perfect word, right? Okay, that is not right, that is societally not right, right, based on society. Now I have to believe that if she's submissive, right? If she's
Mm.
submissive and she's ready, I believe I can make, by God's will, make something out of her life. So
Mm.
getting who to marry, that mindset wasn't a maybe there wasn't too much fear. All right, there wasn't so much fear because I knew as long as there's submission and this is where we are going. I believe somehow, I just believe. But of course, that's not always true because people struggle with that. You know, it's like saying you can change somebody, and that's a different zone. So thank God I didn't really tread on that part so long. So for me, I don't know. It's a story. Can I share the story?
No,
I don't know
you
if the
can.
time will permit.
You can
Oh,
share the
fine.
story. Of course, the abridged version,
I
but
just,
you can. Then, if I
okay,
have
I
questions
just
to
want to
there, we
nail it.
ask you.
Okay, so I chose to marry my wife, and actually I met her twice. The first time was when um, when I got into school. Okay, I did a program then called LASU Foundation, and LASU Foundation happened in Badagry. Okay, that was 2020, yeah, 2020, okay, 2009 and 2010. I mean, okay, so at that time I got into school and I had a coursemate who stays where my wife now, you know, they were both roommates. All right. I never knew my wife. I never knew, let me use IBK in this context. I never knew IBK, but I knew her roommate. We were coursemate. So I just go to her room, I mean to her house to say hi and all that. Then I observed this other lady, IBK, just in the mosquito net. All right, it was a room then just reading, sometimes just singing, and we never talked actually. But fast forward, anyway, the only question I remember she asked me, you know, the program was a 1 year and just few months, right? Was she just asked me a question? She said, "Are you gentle?" We never talked, right? We never had anything to do. She just walked up and like, and she was like, "Are you gentle?" For me, it was a shock because, oh, excuse me, we don't talk. We had nothing, and why would you ask me? You know, so I responded. I think I said, well, I can't really say that. I remember my response. I can't really tell you that because the answer is dependent on the person who is viewing, right? You know, and all that and all that. So, and after that, there was no conversation again. The program finished 1 year plus. We didn't talk, we didn't do, you know, we had nothing to do. Interestingly, I moved on into the next stage proper at the main campus. She did not even transition with us. Okay, she had an issue then with her course and all that. Then she left. So for me, that was the close. Remember, we didn't talk. In fact, there was no major attraction. All I just did was I love this. I mean, I just love the fact that she was just quiet in a mosquito net, reading and singing. That was all. No emotional attachment, right? So we left, and life happened, and all that. So, but I think 4 5 years after we met on, is it 4 5 years thereabout? We came back on Facebook. You know, I just saw on Facebook, girl, how have you been? Where have you been? And all that. And note, there was no emotional connection still. It was just on the basis of, wow, I know this lady, it's been a long time. I think she asked me a question back then, and that was all. Okay. Also, because of my belief, okay, my faith in God, I believe prayer is actually pivotal when it comes to decisions like this. So I was praying, trusting God for somebody to marry. Also, then I add a nudging. All right, how do I explain a nudging now to everybody? Because a nudging looks like a very religious word now. Okay, there was an agreement, or there was an attraction in my heart towards the person I was chatting with. So I kept the chat consistent, right? Yet I wasn't discussing relationship matter. All I wanted to do is, oh, what's up? Where have you been? And all that and all that and all that. Finally, she was coming to Lagos. Meanwhile, all this time I'm talking about, I've been in relationships that I knew we are not going very far. All right. Sometimes I'm like, are you sure this? You know, I was in that two relationships. I'm not, when I say relationship, I'm just talking about two. So it doesn't look like I was testing. No, I wasn't doing that. All right. So at a point, the chat got to a point, and she said she was coming to Lagos. She went to serve, and she was coming back she stays in Aja. So I felt, oh wow, that was good. I remember this, and this is this for me is a holy moment, right? I was in church, we finished church service, we were just doing the greetings and all that. Then I saw a message. She said she was coming back to Lagos. Wow. In fact, I think she said she was in Lagos already. Wow. Wow. We never planned it. Immediately, I lost every sanity. I'm talking about a Sunday service. I didn't plan going anywhere that day. I was just planning, I'm leaving church. Of course, I'm going back to my base, right? Around Songo Water area then. There was massive hold up. When I heard she was coming to Lagos, it was as if something just went wrong with me. Of course, I've been praying and all that, and I've been really watching out for God because I felt I needed to get married at that point. Everything in me just jumped, and what I did immediately was I remembered I didn't even tell people, but I was just running home. I was running. There was traffic. I wish there were cameras actually to picture this thing. It would have been my because I can't imagine losing such memory, right? Maybe in the future I'm going to act a film and picture that again in a story because it was insane. The vehicle was not moving. I jumped down from the vehicle. I was running. Vehicles everywhere. You know, if you know Songo where it's always packed. You know, I was running. It was an action film for me. When I told her, she was just. I was running. I got the bike again. When I got home, immediately I just changed my clothes and all that because I felt I just needed to go change and get some things. I went back again, faced the traffic, got to I was going to Ajah. If you know Songo from Ajah, the distance is some that's some distance, right? And I was going there around 2 o'clock, planning to come back so I could make work the next morning. That was insane. I got there. Interestingly, so her family has a stake at the beach, Elegushi Beach, and all that. So we met there. So I got to the beach late in the night. When I saw her, I was, it was funny. I didn't even know what brought. It was like wind just carried me, and I got to her parents. I'm like, what's happening here? But of course, I knew what was happening all along. I was telling myself, guy, you don't miss this moment. All right. Now, what is to be noted is that before then, we had, of course, we've been discussing, we've been communicating. There was a sort of bond. All right, not like out of the blues and all right. So I just knew I didn't want to miss that moment. Then I got to the beach. I proposed to her at the beach that same day. All right. In fact, to commemorate the proposal, the light everywhere just went off. Immediately I proposed, I knelt down and all those paparazzi. Everywhere the light just went up. I'm like, you see, confirmation and all that. We joked about it, and and all that. Now, when we left the beach that day to our parents' house, something also struck my heart, which I believe, for me, ways God speak anyway. She played out the script for me. There was this story in the Bible where Rebecca fed, who is that person? Is it Isaac, the donkey and all that, and all the story where she had to, get water for them and keep on doing those hospitality. So when I got back home, I took off my shoes and all that. In fact, she cleaned me like, as she was cleaning my leg, right? She cleaned my leg, took my shoes, dusted out the sand, the beach sand out of them, cleaned them, placed them carefully somewhere. In my mind, I've never thought of that scripture. That scripture just came out. So emotional for me, right? I felt this is my Rebecca. So everything just aligned. So now, in all this explanation, I think I've been emphasizing what's it called, divine, or a kind of divine orchestration and affirmation too, because that's a whole lot. So all those were right, and I just knew, of course, she was one. And when it comes to character, of course, I did some little check here and there, but I'd always known she was a calm girl, the kind of a lady I wanted even before then. So sorry for my long story. I needed to explain that part because that's one of my own precious moments.
Yeah. And thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for sharing your precious moments with us. Okay, would you From you've told us why you chose your wife. What would you say? And you've already, in sharing your story, you share some qualities which are they're very important. What kind of qualities as a man back then, of course, before you were married, while you were single, what were the kind of qualities you couldn't cope with truly in a woman? That's for you. Everybody have asked this question, they're like, oh, for me, oh, for me. I'm like, I understand, for you is personalized. But what kind of qualities were you not able to cope with? Because there are qualities that you saw in your wife that you liked and you went ahead with. But what were the qualities for you as a man that was a no-go area?
Wow. For me, anyway, I'm careful not to sound like a pastor every time. Okay, I wanted to marry, then my definition of good qualities in general, because if I start listing now, that might not justify. If I say somebody who is quiet, you might just say somebody who is intelligent, then you find a shortcoming. So for me, I just needed somebody who I was sure was a child of God, right? And that's for me summarizes it was a child of God. And by a child of God, what I meant was somebody who is sensitive. Okay, when you're sensitive, for me, it's you know boundaries. You know what you understand constraints when it comes to right and wrongs, right? Let me just leave that and go to somebody who I will not cope with. So it's the exact opposite. Somebody who is not who is unrepentant, right? Who is not sorry, who is not going to be submissive, who nags and all that, and who doesn't believe in me, or who is just opposite of what I've described, right? Unrepentant, who is not sensitive, right? I'm sorry, I'm using I know I'm using almost vague terminologies, but I couldn't get the simplest form of.
Why I'm even asking this question is to help, just generally to help know what are some of the things that can put a man off. Because even though this is a personalized question, there are men like you. Oh, okay, I thought you needed a moment. Okay, there are men like you out there who have similar interests. So definitely, when they watch this live, they definitely can learn from you. But I think pretty much you've been able to you shared some things to the best of your to the best that you can at this particular time. You shared something while giving your qualities, while sharing things you cannot cope with about submission. For you, what does submission mean for you and to you?
Okay. Submission for me. Submission is not always saying yes actually to everything I say. Submission is believing in me, or I believing in the marriage itself. That for me, that's submission. When you believe in the marriage, when you believe, okay, we are meant to be together, that's submission for me. So it's not always saying yes to everything I say. So submissive is also for me is also you are open to correction. You are open to, because correction for me is a big deal, right? Because I know mistakes happen almost every time. Mistakes happen every time. I mean, almost every time, and our journey is progressive. So as humans that tend to grow, we unlearn things, we learn and relearn, and all those, it keeps going in that circle. So I believe if you are not open to correction, one will be stunted because you're not going to grow. So growth is premised on submission. So if you can open up, you can own up to fault, you can, make commitments to make things work fine. You're submissive. So I was watching out for that quality, and that's for me. Yeah.
Okay, so as a coach yourself and you're in the family life space, what have you seen? We have maybe an epidemic of people wanting to remain single or remaining single even though they want to get married. I'm not saying so everybody in the world is not going to get married. There are people who have decided that they would not get married, and that is okay, because marriage is not the only way to fulfill purpose. In fact, you as an individual, you need to already know your purpose so that you are collaborating with your partner. So I just needed to make that clear, because sometimes people get triggered when you're talking about marriage and all that. And we understand it's not the beginning and the end, but it is an important part of living on earth and expanding God's kingdom, whether we like it or not. So, but we see that people desire it, but they're not going through with it. They're not, whether it's a lack of, well, I shared earlier, for fear, for ignorance. Some people maybe lack the capacity. Some people, they're just paralyzed by the kind of example that they saw. In your view, what are some of the pressing things that are holding, particularly men, from getting married? Because women are saying they are available, they are here, they are ready to serve, but they are saying things like men are cheating, they're not being committed, just a lot of back and forth that we're seeing in the space. So I would like you to please speak.
Perhaps I'm not updated. I want to ask you a question. What's the percentage like? It's your field, you are up to date. When it comes to what's the ratio like? Do we have more women in this category, or do you have more men? I mean, do you have more women looking for men to marry? All right, or do we have more men saying women are not available? You know, what do you think?
So it depends on the context. It depends on the context, because for me, I have more men paying for my sessions, which are not cheap, to actually fix relationship with their girlfriends because they want to truly marry them. That's why I actually have the authority to teach these things that I teach to women. Many times people think that, oh, it is women that are, you know, it is women that are there that just want a husband. But no, men want wives, and they're actually paying for sessions to get married. But the thing is, not going to, confidentiality is very important if you're a counselor. So I won't come out and not come and say, so I spoke to this person, and this is what, of course, you're not going to do that. I'm not a blog. So I'm saying that a lot of these things, so I've said this in many videos. Women are louder, but men won't get married as much as women want to get married. To answer the question, what you will see out there in the blogs is women constantly talking about how they want to get married and blah, blah, blah. Even same thing for domestic violence. You see that, oh, it's women that speak more, but men are also going through these things. So the answer is, it depends on the context. It depends on where you are measuring from. If you are measuring your the percentage through a blog, you're going to get more women. If you're measuring it privately with a counselor, for instance, as a person who helps men and women meet and marry their partner, I know that men come often behind, like Nicodemus. They come behind to us to talk. They don't want to be out there. They don't want to make noise. They come behind to say, oh, I want to get married. How can I do this? Or I want to fix a relationship with my girl. I want to marry her.
You know, Nicodemus couldn't have been a woman. That's a man.
I just used that example. So even the Nicodemus, so since time immemorial, men have been doing things. It's not as loud as women.
Wow, yeah.
It's not, but women's zone is loud. You not think, oh, it's only women. But you don't know that there are Nicodemuses that are going behind to say, yeah, so this thing, come and give me, come and tell me how to do it. So that answers that will help answer your own question.
Yeah, that's true. Hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to answer sorry again.
Your view, just in your view, what do you think is making people not get married? Even though they want to, want to get married.
Yeah. Yes, I think basically for me, it boils down to two reasons. The first is finance. Finance is a big deal, right? For me, I didn't have everything figured out, and beyond it's not just for marriage anyway. And I'm sure for you too, maybe you would have wanted to become a kind of woman before you got married. You know this kind of. But the truth is, we can't ever have it all. Now, the way it happens in marriage, also, you have it in every other area. You can't have it all before you pursue whatever you want to pursue, right? Whatever vision. So it was the same. Finance, the major reason, of course, I wanted to have more because finance somehow will improve the finance improve experience. All right, so we can have better marriage experiences with more finance, right? You can afford luxurious things and all that. But if you don't have it all figured out, it's a journey. So finance is a major one, and number two is no, maybe I should make it three. The third one is not very right. The second one anyway is said finance. I wanted to mention scarcity, right? And this scarcity is so big. I wish I could break it down into something more relatable. People believe, like you said, women are scarce. Ladies are, we don't have genuine women and all that. And from, social media has made things worse. There are some things that have been amplified on social media, cheating, divorce, and all those stuff. And people get scared. Even guys get scared. All right. So they're like, they don't want to dare marriage because of this exposures. So there's fear of getting married to the wrong person, finance, fear of getting married to the wrong person, maybe I don't want to say lack of confidence because that's on a low anyway. So two major one, finance and fear of getting married to the wrong person. And for that, I believe you are doing a good job. There are finance coaches, but for this fear of getting married to the wrong person, I also believe that there are things to be done. There are these. There are things. You see, many people just think some things can be controlled, right? Or you believe some things are luck. I'm not of that opinion. Maybe perhaps somebody is watching and you're thinking it's luck. People who get married and they stay together for long, it's just luck and they're just lucky, fortunate. No, it's not. Some things can actually be intentional, can be planned. Some things could be deliberate. All right, you could be sure of building a lasting marriage. I'm very sure, and that's what Nkechi is doing with our community. All right, and I believe there are proofs and testimonies to this. All right, so those are the two big reasons for me.
Thanks.
Thank
Okay, we'll start to wrap up now. Let's speak about that finance as we start to wind down. In your
you. Okay.
view, and if it is something you can do, you could also share. Do you think that men are uncomfortable getting married to women that earn more than them? Because what you said, I have two books on finance. One just came out this Christmas. It's one of the reasons why I started writing on finance is because of this problem, this whole money, money, money problem. So can you hear me? I see there. Oh, I don't think you can hear me. Oh, I don't think you can hear me anymore. Oh, okay. It is his network. Because I thought as much. I thought as much that I wasn't seeing him. So I believe he will be back shortly. Shortly is going to be back. Thank you for staying here till the end. We're rounding up now. I'm trying to connect with our guest. Thank you for staying here. Don't worry, you can totally fast forward this part. But it is I'm not sure what happened. I'm trying to connect back with our guests so that we're actually even already concluding. Okay, I think our guest is back, so we'll just complete. Oh, okay. So what I need to do is I need to remove, and then I think our guest is back, so we'll just conclude the session. We already were rounding. Okay. Welcome back.
Okay.
Okay. No, I can't see you. This is strange.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I cannot see you. So you need to.
Yeah, it was my net. There was an outage here, so my Wi-Fi got disconnected. I had to connect it back now.
The same
Well, I can see your.
I was having this morning. No, I have to remove you because people cannot see you. So we need to rejoin. I have to remove and add you so that the people, even if I can hear you and there's not a problem for me, so people can hear you actually. But if it starts posing as a problem, since we're already concluding, we'll just close out with this. Well, let's see. Let's try it again.
Okay.
Okay, so let's try one more time if we can see our guests. To see our guests. Okay. It's the same problem. But don't worry, I know on Instagram I can't see you, but it's okay. It's all right. I know on Instagram can be sometimes. So I've been doing this for years now. So the good part is that we're at the concluding part. So it is even possible that I'm not seeing you due to your network, but maybe you will show later in the video. That's fine. No problem. Let's conclude. Let's conclude. So I was asking, in fact, I was talking to myself at a point. I was asking what you think on women earning higher than their husbands. What do you think generally? That it is not I see. It is one of the reasons why some men would rather not get married. They're better. Like, no, I'm not going to marry a woman who earns more than me because she's going to disrespect me. So I would like to get your candid thoughts on that.
Okay, really. I think the reason that's a very important question because for me now, the reason why I had to start studying leadership, particularly leadership and personal development, is I discover as a relationship coach or marriage family life coach that's not an you deal with people, you deal with their development, you deal with their emotional intelligence, right? You deal with quite a number of things. Okay, so that's why I'm doing much study on leadership these days and personal development and all that, because I believe when you have somebody who understands, who is mature, who is well developed, right, chances of getting married well at least is more guaranteed. Okay, so as a corroboration to what I do anyway in the relationship and family life space. Now, the issue of your wife getting ahead of you, particularly is a very big issue in marriages, and to some men is a big threat. Right? I've seen men who will tell you categorically that I can never depend on my wife. You know, of course. Now, let me put this in context. I'm not talking about a man who is irresponsible and is not ready to do anything, okay, and solely depending on the wife. I'm talking about in cases where the wife is actually getting ahead, maybe getting a better pay, getting ahead in career and all that, some men feel threatened. All right. Case in point, I think I grew up under that kind of home, interestingly. And I think this is proof, this should be a proof that such behavior can be corrected. All right. Naturally, I should, because case in point I'm trying to say was my dad. My mom was quite a successful business person. She does, she trades and all that. She was getting ahead, but my dad could not manage it. That's what I grew up to know. Because my dad is late now. Probably if he's watching me in heaven, he wouldn't do much anyway. So I grew up believing
correcting that.
I grew up believing. You said what?
No, you will be saying you're doing the right thing, correcting the notion that he most likely did not know better about.
Actually, so I grew up knowing that this wasn't the right thing. Dad couldn't stand mom's success, right? And dad couldn't imagine my mom being the talk of the town because she was doing well. People come to her for different reasons and all that. She became a household name such that if you are going to, it was my hometown, going to a place, people describe locations with their name. So bad influences, advisors everywhere influenced my dad, and unfortunately, he wasn't getting along well. But that affected the marriage. So I grew up observing this carefully because I was a teenager at that point. So I understood this wasn't the right way to go. So for me, I knew, wow, there was a tendency for me to repeat this if care is not taken, right? I had to deliberately unlearn that. I saw it was a wrong one. And for what's it called? I don't want to say religion or my spiritual exposure too, because that helped me in my personal transformation. Because we can't really talk about transformation outside of God. That's the truth. For me, okay, so that helped me. The knowledge I garnered from scriptures, from reading, I exposed myself to reading and all that, and my vision, the vision I developed. So I felt, no, this wasn't the way to go. In fact, for me, the way it works in my home is, you were there, we are at the leadership program, right, ALC, and I saw you posted about, what's her name, the woman who spoke. Yeah, one of the speakers, right? And for me, that was okay. That was visionary for me because I've always envisaged a wife my wife standing, addressing, being a leader. Actually, till now, we still talk about this every time. She's my coach. I'm a coach. That's my joy, for God's sake. So for every man listening, please, it's a win. It's a family win. Who goes first? If it's the wife, there is an household name. If you're the one, it's a family win. Your children will be inspired when they see this, right? So it's not a big deal for me, and I really, really wish I could explain this to more men watching, that this actually is a privilege for you. It's not. You shouldn't be defensive. There's nothing to lose. Actually, there's nothing to lose. Of course, we could say that ego thing in most men, but please, ego should not allow any man sabotage the success of his wife in any way, because it's a win-win situation. So for me, my stand is clear. My wife, in fact, if she can do far, far, far better than I am, wow, I'll be so proud of her. So proud of her. And interestingly, we have figures we can make references to, right? There are one or two people I've seen, and things are perfect, right? It's a football, it's a team. When you understand team playing, you understand not everybody will score. Some people are meant to keep the goalpost, right? When the success comes, they might celebrate the captain of the team or number 10 striking, but the truth is the goalkeeper also shares the glory. It's a team win. So the first thing is, I think you should understand. I mean, to the man, I'm addressing the man now who might be going through this confusion. All right, should be you understanding the place of not understanding the place of team playing, not putting your ego in check, right? You don't want to always be the center of attraction. It's a win for you, whether it's your child. It's a win. So understand that, and peace. peace.
Okay.
Peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're going to wrap up now with your rapid fire questions. This set of questions are just fun ways to close out the conversation. And you have to answer it within 30 seconds. Like you can't take so long to answer the question.
Yes, right. You can't see me
Come
yet.
again? Hello?
You can't see me yet. You can't see me yet.
I can't see yet, but it's not a problem, truly. For me, it's
Okay.
not.
I'm seeing you.
It's not a
All
problem.
right, fine.
Okay,
Like you
the
said, you might have
first
the
is
video at the end of the day. You might.
yes, it's mine. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
What's your favorite food?
Porridge and plantain.
Ah. Now, well, that food. Okay. What are you allergic to?
Okay, in terms of is it food or
No, just
generally?
any generally, yes.
Generally, seeing too much of blood, right? Blood, like
Okay. Okay.
hospital
What's your best
environment. What's my best
movie?
movie? So far. Um, Jesus, I love comics anyway. So far, ah, oh my, wow. What comes to mind anyway is Ever Not Mighty anyway. Ever Not Mighty,
Like,
Ever Not Mighty. Old movie, but I just love it.
okay. What's your
Yeah,
best book?
my best book. Um, by Anthony Robbins. That's man.
Man. Okay. No,
No, not men, not men. I'm trying to remember the title. Anthony Robbins. Oh my. Ah. Oh my. Oh
it's
my. Oh
fine.
my. Oh my. Oh my. It's something about thinking,
You
Sha,
can remember. As long
by
as
Tony
you
Robbins.
get the author, no problem. Were you given birth to in
All right.
Nigeria?
Was I giving?
Birth to in Nigeria? Were you born in Nigeria?
Yeah, yeah,
If you were
yeah, I
not
was
born
born in
in
Nigeria.
Nigeria, what country would you have liked to be born into?
USA,
Gold or
America.
silver? Okay, gold or silver?
Gold.
Black or white?
Black.
Yellow or pink?
Hope this is a sort of personality
No,
test. So you tell me my result at the end of
that's
the day.
no questions. No, they're not.
Yellow or pink? All right. Yellow.
What is one
Is it yellow?
favorite thing about your wife?
One favorite thing about my wife, she loves singing. I enjoy her singing. She sings, and I love to see her sing
Oh,
anyway.
okay,
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. What's your favorite attire to wear?
My favorite attire, I love a shirt, jerseys, and waistcoats. I think I'm cool with that.
What, what's your
Oh,
favorite thing to do?
the favorite
Thing to do.
thing to do. Okay, yeah, I love writing my to-do list. To do, yeah, I love to do.
I'm saying what? Oh, so
I love it so much.
that's your favorite thing to do.
Yes, I love it. I love writing my to-do. I'm always in my diary,
Ah,
always pinning out to do and
okay.
yeah.
What do you like to do for fun? That's actually
For
interesting. Fun,
fun,
yes.
for fun. Okay, for fun, ah I do I read. That's the truth. I love to read for fun. Now when I have a spare time, what I mean is I'm trying to catch up with some PDF I've not read. So
Okay.
and maybe partially also to be my family a lot. I've been at home. I don't really go out much.
Okay.
Yeah, stay with my family.
Small chops or jollof rice?
Ah, small chops.
Fruits or
That's I'm not
vegetables?
fat.
Fruits or vegetables?
Fruits. I don't do
Would you
veggies.
rather take a
Sorry.
bus or an airplane? Would you rather take the bus or an airplane?
Ah, I will. Okay, I'll prepare a plane because I prefer airplane. Don't let me say the because. Airplane anyway.
Writing or speaking?
It used to be writing, but now speaking. I love to speak now.
Rain or sunshine?
Let the sun increase. I love it.
Okay. Would you rather spend a day at the beach or a day in one of your favorite restaurants?
A day at the beach or restaurant. Okay, I prefer beach.
Audio or visual? How do you prefer to learn? Audio or visual?
Yeah, visual.
If you had if you had one superpower to change one thing in Nigeria, what would that thing be that you would like to see change? Just one thing you would like to see change in Nigeria.
Yeah, the mindset of people. Mindset.
That's a lot.
Mindset.
That's enough even.
Yeah.
And what do you want to be for? Finally,
Ma'am,
I said, what do you want to
I
be
didn't get that.
for?
Oh yeah, I want to remember as that's $1 million. I mean, that's a whole lot of question anyway. Okay, I want to remember as somebody who made a difference it made a difference in across the globe anyway. Okay, in lives and families, transformed lives and nations particularly. So for me, it's a global impact anyway. So I want to be known for global impact. Though I don't attend global impact, but I think I share their.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joseph. I'm really grateful for you spending
Pleasure.
us today. And for those who are listening, please subscribe, share your comments, share your questions. If you want to connect with Joe, you'll find him on Instagram at I am Uncle Joe _ at I am Uncle Joe _
Right.
and
Right.
continue to make impacts following God's plans, God's pattern, and working with God's perspective. Thank you so much for joining in and have a
Yeah.
good time ahead.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to. I had a good time. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.